Okay, so welcome everyone to the Warminster Library Mask and Masquerade, or I'm sorry, Watercolor and Pen Masquerade Mask um, for this evening. And you can see the supplies in the chat. They're basic, very basic paint. If you want to make it snazzy and add some different watercolors. I had somebody use metallic paints, which I thought was really cool. So you could do that. But other than that, we're kind of using purple, blue, red, green, and yellow, but you can change the colors. It's okay. So we are going to get started. I'm going to spotlight my video here. And here is the original in case anybody needs to take a picture. And we're going to get started with the drawing. This is 9 by 12. And obviously we have it in landscape mode. And we're going to get started. So we're going to start off with the basic drawing of the mask. And we're going to make sure to start in the middle of our paper so that we leave enough room for sort of the misty background, or I don't know, kind of mystical background. And also we want to make sure to leave room for the ribbon on the right and the feathers and the ribbon on the left. Now you can add more ribbons if you like. You can make your feathers look different. You know, I like to give everybody their sort of their creative nudge, if you will. All right, so we get started, and always a reminder that you are drawing very lightly, and I will be drawing darker so it shows up on Zoom. So we're looking at the overall shape here of the mask. We also want to note that the side of the mask here is slanted, right? So it's not straight up like that. It's kind of tilted with the way that it's sort of resting. So starting off, basically we're going to make the mask, and then we will make all of the details after that. So our mask is going to go curve upward, and we have a dip in the middle for the nose part. And then the mask on this side is a little bit smaller because of the way, or I should say because of the perspective. I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say something. And you want to match up basically the bump here to the curve here. So sometimes what's helpful is to kind of draw an imaginary line. Because as you can see, my bump is going to be about right here. And then it comes back out again, like so. I'm also going to make the line here a little bit more realistic in the way that it's tilted. And that's kind of what you would see. Just checking in how everybody's doing here. Okay. Now, once you have that shape, we are going to start. First, we're going to add in the eye, or both eyes in the mask. And so those are going to go sort of down, kind of like in the middle of the mask. So if you want, you can kind of make two lines for where the eyes would go. And then those are going to be sort of football, kind of football shaped. And you'll have to kind of erase those lines. Same thing here. Now remember, the eye on the right side is going to be smaller because of the perspective. I'm actually going to make this eye a little bit closer to the nose. You can also make the eye shapes any way you want. So if you want to make them a little bit different than what I have here, feel free to do that. Then erase any lines that don't belong. We are going to be lightening up our lines before we start our watercolor. And then we're going to get started now on the left side with all the ribbons and the feathers. And we're first going to start off with the jewel. So here again, you can make this larger, you can make it smaller. I kind of make, guess it's a hexagon. Let's see, 2, 3, 4. I kind of made up my own jewel. So if you want to make like a ruby or an emerald shape, or if you want to do 2 gems, that might be kind of fun. Or even like a circular one, that would look kind of neat. Like an opal. And then to make it look more gem-like, we start to create the smaller shapes in the middle. And I'm gonna go closer now since we have this already drawn. So then we just do the detail lines of the gem, basically by recreating those lines and then attaching them to the points. And it looks like a gem. Now, again, you can make it a little fancier. You want to put some kind of fancy round stuff on it. I didn't do this in my original, but I just thought of it now. Thought that might be kind of fun. And then we're going to start with the ribbon. And then after the ribbon, we're going to draw the feathers. So let's start off with that ribbon on the left side. So we're on the left side only right now. So we're going to kind of make the inside of the ribbon. We have a part of the inside curve here once we make kind of that teardrop shape. Oh, I gotta move my camera a little bit. Sorry about that. Now this is the inside portion of the ribbon. And now we're going to make the outside So now we make it look more three-dimensional. We're going to curve it back to the gem. And then we have to make the other loop. So again, we kind of make a teardrop shape for the inside of the ribbon. And then we make the outside of it, and we'll be kind of going on top of the mask a little bit. So here's the outside, and see, you'll have to go in and erase the line from the mask, depending on where your ribbon falls. So maybe your ribbon doesn't fall on top of the mask, and that's okay. And then we're going to make the inside of the ribbon. Like so. I'm just adjusting my line here for the ribbon, making it look a little more like it's to the side. And we're going to start with the actual ribbon part. And you can sort of start with one line. Let me make that a little darker. And then you can make it look three-dimensional by adding another line right here. And we're going to make that ribbon twist around. So now the other side will look like this. And if you want to twist it again, you can twist it again too if you want. You can have a pretty twisty ribbon if you want. Okay, so there's the one ribbon. And then we have one more coming over here. And you can have it either in front of your ribbon or in back of it, just depending. My ribbon is falling a little bit differently than my other one. Actually, not too much. And I have to decide if I want it on top or in the bottom. I think I'm going to let this one be on the bottom. And with that, we might as well draw the other ribbon on the other side when you're ready. And that's going to be the same thing where we kind of twist. And then when your ribbon starts to turn, gets a little bit pointy. And it shows the other sides. I twisted mine again here. Let me make this a little darker so you can see. like so. And we're almost finished with the drawing part. Almost. Gonna let everybody catch up a little bit. Take a sip of my tea. Okay, now for our feathers here, we're going to start on the left side, and we're going to start them as sort of basic shape feathers. So for instance, we want to see where they're going to curve, kind of make them in a curving shape. We want to make some that are kind of drooping behind, and even one that is kind of drooping behind our ribbon. So this is, there are 1, 2, 3 feathers here, and I'm going to make one more coming out here. So what I did was I kind of made banana shapes. And then I'm going to make a line in the center of each banana shape. I think I put a little too much light on that, so I'll move it so that you can see. And then I'm going to make the edges frayed from that. So I'm going to very lightly erase the first feather shape, and I'm going to start to make those shapes a little more frayed, like so. So this is the first feather shape I've made. You may have to adjust your erasing. And then you're going to continue making those shapes just like this. And you've already have the shape of each of the feathers, but now you just have to kind of make a fraying on each side. So I'm going to each one and doing that. Remember to make the pointed part longer, the part that's drooping the most, so that it looks like a drooping feather. Okay. Kind of made mine a little close to the edge. Wasn't really pre-thinking about my composition. Okay. Now we can do the detail on the mask, which you don't have to do it exactly like mine, but I did a border all around and I drew it first with my pencil. You can see me doing that here. Make sure that you can see this. So same thing, your border is going to get very tiny on the right side because, again, of the perspective. You want to make it look like that is a little bit farther away from us. And then I like to draw lines to separate each part. And we're going to be painting that in and using our gold pen afterward. And this is where you can get really creative as we create the gold part of the mask. So first, I like to erase the line that we created for the sort of the bridge of the nose area. And I like to keep some lines there and it kind of looks like dashes. That gives the indication of the nose area that it's indented or actually a little bit more puffed out for the nose, actually. And then from there, I start to kind of fashion the kind of curvy detail that I want to paint later on with the gold pen. So here again, if you want yours a little bit differently, you can absolutely do that. Remember also, again, any detail that you do on the right side is going to be a little bit smaller, again, because we are making it in perspective. And later on, what I do is I add some dashes just with the gold pen if I want. I don't kind of draw those in. I'm going to go a little closer now. Because now we can start the painting. You might want to lighten up your lines a bit, your pencil lines, using your eraser, just to kind of lighten everything before we start painting. And then we paint on the outside. You're probably thinking, what about those other sort of plumy things on the left? We're going to add those later on by hand. So when you are ready, you can start adding the colors around your mask. And I like to add it kind of in a cloud-like shape. Remember to also get the eyes, because the eyes would be, you know, see-through, or not see-through. You would be able to see through them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I take my brush and I kind of make cloud-like, spinning around. And I make some of it lighter by adding more water. And then I like to go back and add parts that are a little bit darker. But you can experiment with how you would like it. Remember to get in between your feathers, all the parts that you have to hit in between. I'm using blue and I'm going to add some purple. You can do just purple, you can do just blue, whatever you prefer. I kind of trace around each section and then continue to do a swirling with the water. So I take my brush and start to swirl the color, and then I use the water to kind of move that color across the page. I like to go a little bit darker as I'm kind of surrounding the object, almost like I'm outlining it, but you don't have to. That's just something I kind of like to do. And then I get a little more lighter as I go out toward the edge. So if you want to have it really kind of smoky looking, just keep adding water to your coloring. You can always go back and add more color, but it's harder in watercolor to take away the color. It can be done, absolutely. It's just a little easier to start off lighter. And just glide that color all around your background here. You can even add salt if you feel so inclined with this one. Just have fun with the background right now. Making it very theatrical looking. I always wanted to go to a masquerade ball. You know, you see them in movies and they look really fun, like one from the 1800s or 1700s or something. I think that would be really, really fun to dress up for that. And then this is where, you know, you can make parts a little darker. Like I'm going back here. I'm going to add a little more darker blue, kind of in the corners where it meets a little bit with the mask. Right underneath the bottom part here. Kind of almost want to create a little bit of a, I don't know if you call it a shadow, maybe. And I got to add a little bit of purple. I'm just going to add a little bit of swirling purple in sections. Some over here. And some down here. Again, now I'm just kind of coming back and making some parts a little bit darker.
Sounds familiar?
Making it just a little bit darker in the eyes. At least in the corners, just a little bit. And when you're ready, you can start to add some color to the other parts. So meaning your feathers. So again, you know, you don't have to do the colors that I did. I did red, kind of a purple, green. Kind of change it up every time. So I'm going to make this one a little more of a pinkish red. The next one, kind of a purpley. You can make them multicolored if you want. You know, like one leaf, I said leaf, one feather. And then I'm gonna add a little bit orange. This one. You know, you can also do things around the edges of them as well. And then this one, I'm gonna make this one brown, which I did not do in my original. Maybe like a brownish yellow. You can layer your colors too. So I left my mask white, but if you want to do another color with it, please feel free to do that. Using a little brown in my red. So this is where you can kind of mix some of the colors a little bit. Again, I made mine kind of plain on my original, and that's okay. Mhm. And then we don't want to forget about our gem. So again, your gem can be a different color. I'm going to make it purpley green. The other one I made just yellow. But you can make it two colors, a lighter color and then a dark color to kind of make it a little more kind of stand out. Now. And you're going to decide on your ribbon color. I did mine a yellowish green to kind of pop against all the purple and the blue. But I think I might try this one and do a red ribbon. just to have fun with it. So again, I like to pick two colors for the ribbon. You can do a lighter watered down version of your color. I think I'm doing that now with the red. Basically making the lighter parts more like a pink. And the darker parts a little darker. So I'm kind of highlighting the darker parts would be where the ribbon is turning, especially on the underside. So I'm kind of going to highlight that now just to show you. I haven't filled in the rest of the ribbon yet, but I'm doing the kind of darker parts now. Darkish here too. And it gets a little bit lighter. And in the center. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing that water. If there's too much water, you can wipe it off a little with your brush. Like I can take my brush, wipe it on the side, and then take my brush that's a little bit drier and wipe away that water. So I'm almost like erasing. I'm going back and adding some lightness by taking my water and pulling some of that color that I already put down into it. So I'm going to show this up close. So the way I did that is I made a gradient. I had the red over here, dried a little bit, and then I took a little bit of water and I started pulling the color and shading with it, almost like it's a colored pencil, but you're using water. And you just need a little bit. If you need to go back and get more, you can always add more. But it's always good to start with a little bit of, I think, less water. I'm going to go around, do a little outlining. And this is where you can go back and make parts a little bit darker, as if you're using a colored pencil, but you're using the tip of your brush. Just as if you were shading. You're just using a brush to do that. A brush and water. See here again, I'm going to make it a little bit darker in the corner where that ribbon is flipping. Pushing that color up. I'm going to just repeat that process on the other side, the other ribbon. Sometimes I like to go around and outline the outside of the ribbon, but first I do it very lightly. You have to make sure that your brush is nice and pointed. Usually the ends of the ribbon are a little darker. Usually. In this case, I'm kind of doing that. Just on this side. Ooh, I can't wait to see what it looks like, June. Yay. That is tiny. I like it. Oh, you're doing a card. You bought those card watercolors. Ooh.
No, it's
Oh.
in my watercolor sketchbook, which is only 6 by 10, and I do half a page.
Oh,
My-
okay.
Oh, great. Now I'm going to be recorded. Oh, well. Okay, bye.
That's funny. She's recorded for posterity. So the longest part of this is really the ribbons, you know, making them look nice. I kind of like how these ribbons came out better than my original. I do this all the time. I'm just going to add a little bit here. And this one here. Again, I always go a little bit lighter at first. And then I go back and make parts a bit darker. I feel like it's a little easier that way. Like I explained, it's a little easier to go back and make it darker than it is to start off with it darker and then try to make it lighter. You can even make little crinkles in your ribbon if you want, like making one right here. And that's just the difference in color, right? So when it's kind of crinkling, that crinkle is usually darker. And then it's lighter around it. Okay. You can choose to do a little bit of outlining. We're going to be going back and doing that with our black very shortly. Okay. And then, you want to figure out if you want to make some kind of squares where your gold is going to be. So I kind of go back and start to paint in kind of like the middle of each of the separations on the mask, kind of figuring that I'm going to be creating with the pen all around, or you can do it the other way and create with the pen first. That might be easier. And then go back and fill in any spots that you missed. Or you can do a completely different design than what I'm doing. Whereas I'm just adding in some blue in kind of a rectangular or a little square way. You want to make sure everything's dry before you start to create with both of your pens. So I'm just going to bounce this up and down. I have a fan on as well, so that should dry it a little bit. And also, whichever part is dry, like for instance, right now, I can kind of go in now with my gold pen while I'm waiting for the other parts to dry. So I'm going to go in and do some of my gold pen a little bit. And try not to touch the other parts. So this is a real fun part because you get to add some fun details. You can even add some tassels around. I didn't think about that. I was just looking at it going, what else could I add to this that I didn't add the last time? Do some fun tassels. Could add some not graffiti. What was I going to say? Confetti, like, to indicate there was a party. You could add like little pieces of confetti around if you wanted, using colored pencil or even using your gold marker. You could do that too. I forgot to add at the top. Totally forgot to instruct all of you to add the also right here, you could add another gem over in the center here at the top. I'm looking going, what is missing from this? And that's what it is. I'm going to move it down so you can see. It's the gem part. And you want to color in all the parts. Your gold pen, if you're at that part yet. Said I was waiting for parts of mine to dry. So I thought I'm gonna go in with my gold pen right now. And this is where you can add some other fun things. Some kind of gold dashes. Okay. I'm gonna add some gold dots all over in the background just to make it look kind of fun. And it looks like a party. And then finally, going in there with the black marker. I'm also going to erase some of my pencil lines that I can still see. Not too many. Then you can decide to trace around everything if you want. I just like to make everything a little more vibrant using the black pen. Again, this is a step that you don't have to if you don't want to. Alright. And then, you can add those three sort of plant-like things, those fuzzies. I just made them up, so I just thought they looked kind of fun. You could add something else there if you want. Like I said, I just thought I think they looked fun. Something that would be kind of like hanging off of a mask. And then I'm going to add some kind of feathery type overlay on top of the feathers. Kind of accentuate in the middle. That. And finally, outlining around the ribbons. So I feel like that really makes it pop. Now, if your watercolor is still wet, you might want to wait for this step, because the pen will not glide smoothly over it. And finally, this one. Make it a little bit darker underneath my mask. Using my black pen. Like a little bit of a shadow right underneath the part where the nose is, in the bottom. Again, I didn't do that with the last one, but kind of feeling it with this one. Why not? I'm excited to see what these look like. So maybe another minute or so. I'm going to remove my stuff here. Oops. And I'm going to stop the recording.